Hello, my name is Ashley, this is Faithful Rattos. Welcome or welcome back. And as you can tell from the title of this video, today we are going to be talking about vet care and how to get the best possible vet care for your rats. And I know it's tricky because not a lot of vets actually are specialists in rats, but it is possible. And I'm here to share advice from my own experiences. I'm obviously not an expert, but this is all advice from my own experiences. So the first thing that I think is super important is having the funds to be able to provide that vet care in the first place. Now, I know currently the cost of living crisis is making this astronomically more difficult to be able to afford. In my experience, I've had the cost of anaesthetic go from £20 to £80 in the same year. In January of 2023, I paid £20, and then in August, I paid £80, and a quadruple rise in the price is astronomical. So I do understand that it is getting more difficult to have the money. However, it's super important that we have the means to provide the vet care. Now, whether that is a savings account or insurance, which I don't generally recommend for rats, or having friends and family that can help us out, is super important. And actually here in the UK, it's a legal responsibility for you to provide vet care for your animal when they are sick, injured, unwell, etc. And if you don't, you're actually committing a crime. So it's a really big deal, both legally and ethically, to be able to provide the vet care for your rats. And if you're in a position where you cannot provide the vet care, you need to seek help. And I don't mean this to sound nasty or to shame anyone. It's really easy to end up in an unfortunate situation where you are no longer able to provide the vet care for your animals, but you need to make sure that if you aren't providing it, that there is somebody else there doing it, whether that means somebody is helping you out or sadly you have to surrender or rehome your rats to somebody who can provide that vet care. It is super important. Let's move on and talk about, in my opinion, the two pieces of advice that will help you provide your rats with the best possible vet care. So the first piece of advice on this is you need to find the rat savvy vets. Now, a lot of people will tell you to find an exotic vet. Now, in my opinion, this isn't necessarily the most helpful thing to do because not all exotic vets are actually rat savvy, and not all rat savvy vets are actually exotics either. So exotics just means that the vet is dealing with things that aren't cats and dogs and aren't farm animals. That is a huge spectrum of animals, from reptiles, birds, amphibians. Not always does this mean rodents and rats. Yes, rats are considered exotic animals when it comes to the pet trade. However, this doesn't mean that all exotic vets are rat savvy. A lot of them are experts in reptiles or birds or amphibians or other sorts of animals, and they're not actually rat savvy. So don't rely on a vet just because they say they're exotic. Make sure they have rat specific experience. Now, on the other side of that coin, not all general dog and cat vets are actually terrible with rats. In my experience, one of the vets that I regularly go to is actually a dog and cat vet. They do see exotic small furries, so rabbits, guinea pigs, rats, hamsters, and they're exceptional at it. And it's not just one staff member, not one doctor there it's most of them. I've seen 4 of them, and I think there might be 6 or 7 vets that work at that practice, and 4 of them have been excellent with me. So I think that is a really important note to keep, that when you're looking for a rat savvy vet, it's about their specific experience and not necessarily their qualification as an exotic vet, because I don't think always that exotic vets are rat savvy. So enabling you to find a rat savvy vet can be quite tricky. But in my experience, especially in the UK, there's probably Facebook groups in your area for this, but there's a Facebook group called Rat Vet Reviews UK, and on there people can review lots of different practices, and you can get real rat owner experience of these vets, good and bad, and that can help you make the decision on where to register your pet. And I think that's very valuable, using other people's experiences. However, if somebody's had a bad experience, that doesn't necessarily write the vet off, depending on what that is. And I think that's important to keep in mind, because the practice where I go to as my second choice, and I'll explain my reasoning why it's a second choice in a second, that practice, I read on that group some bad reviews, but in my experience, that's not the whole picture of what's going on. So once you've found a rat savvy vet, it's important to keep them, to Be respectful, obviously. I mean, come on. Vets are incredible people, but they have such enormous pressures on them and emotional pressures on them that we really, as pet owners, shouldn't be making that worse. So not only using reviews, what you can do is actually call around practices and ask them, how often do they see rats? Is it a daily occurrence? Are they experiencing rat surgeries? How often are they doing them? Is it daily? Is it weekly? Is it monthly? In my opinion, you would want it to be at least weekly, if not daily, if possible. And you're wanting to make sure that when you do call around and ask, that you're checking each doctor at that practice and then booking in with that doctor and not just a random one who's there. And once you've used speaking to the actual practices themselves and also other people's experiences with them, I'm sure you'll find someone within your range that is rat savvy and that can help you out. So I actually am registered at more than one, but I'm registered with a mobile small furry specialist. She is absolutely amazing, and without her, I literally would be a pile on the floor, a mess, because she's helped me out of so many sticky situations when it comes to my rats, either personally being the one to deal with the rats, but also over the phone helping me to navigate emergency vets and things like that. She is absolutely incredible, and if you're in the Midlands, go check out Adele Wharton, Where the Small Things Matter. She is absolutely incredible. I don't know why I'm recommending her on my channel, to be honest, because she's so busy now that it's so hard to see her. But if anyone could have experience with a vet like her, if every vet experience could be like my experiences with her, then it would be amazing. And then I'm also registered with what she calls a core practice. And this is someone who can see me when she can't see me, because she, as a mobile vet, can't always get out to see me because she's driving around the country, you know? So my practice that I go to when I can't see her is good too. I wouldn't say they're as knowledgeable and as experienced as she is, because they are a general practice for dogs and cats, but they do have rat experiences. I've had an implant and a surgery and a tooth burr done there, and they have been excellent. I've not had any issues with them. They have been extremely rat savvy and they've been great, but they are not as experienced as her because they aren't seeing only small pets on a day-to-day basis. Now comes the tricky bit. This is navigating what to do when you have to see a vet that's not rat savvy, whether that is an emergency vet, because often it's quite more challenging to see an emergency vet that is rat savvy. It's actually quite difficult to find one that is. Or if you're in a sticky situation and availability is full everywhere, you know that it's rat savvy and you just need to be seen that day, it can be quite tricky. Or if you just know that you don't have rat savvy vets within a decent distance from your house, this is where it can get quite tricky. And in my experience, most of the time, the vets who don't have this expertise, where this isn't their specialty, they'll be quite honest and open about it and open to your suggestion as an owner. Now, there are two pieces of resourcing that I tend to take with me when it comes to these situations that can really help you out, because it gives them not only your word for it as an owner, but scientific backing and a trustworthy veterinary source. Now, the first one I wouldn't call a veterinary source, but this is Common Diseases of the Fancy Rat by Anne Story. She isn't a vet, but she is one of the longest running, I guess, ethical breeders here in the UK, and her decades of experience with medical history, with medical issues are in here. And this goes through symptoms, treatments, etc. And what I found is the most helpful is to have she has the formularies for some of the most common drugs and what they're sort of good for. And this is really helpful. I've taken this book with me to many a vet practice. The second resource that I like to use when I go to see a vet that is not really rat savvy is Rat Guide. This is a website that has been put together by rat savvy vets, and it goes through symptoms, diagnostics, treatments, all of the things that vets need to know about any certain condition. And it was built and populated by vets that are rat savvy, and so this is a scientific based website. It has the links to studies, etc. And I found that vets are really happy to use this as a tool to help them give you the best care possible. Now, of course, sometimes that just isn't possible. Sometimes you can get yourself into a tricky situation when it comes to vets who don't really understand rats that well. And I've had a fair few experiences of that myself, and it's very stressful and it's overwhelming and it's scary when you know that your pet needs a certain medical treatment and you just can't seem to convince the vet to give it to you. Trust me, it's difficult and it's really hard to maintain your composure, but being the advocate for your pet and for yourself is really important. And I'll give you a little bit of an anecdote of this before I leave this video. So my rat Coulson, I have made a video about him. He was put to sleep due to impaction and a huge buildup of gas in his digestive system. However, it was very difficult to actually convince that emergency vet to do the x-ray that enabled us to take appropriate decisions about his treatment and his situation. It took me over 45 minutes in discussion with the vet to convince her to take the x-ray that allowed us to find this out about what was going on. And her reasonings for why she didn't want to take the x-ray is worry about him under sedation, the fact that their x-ray machine isn't built for smaller animals, and the fact that she herself wouldn't be able to read the x-ray. Now, those are all fair judgments, but in a case where the rat was in such a serious condition, just having that picture, even if it wasn't a particularly good one, would have been super important. And it was super important. It did give us the information that we needed. And she wasn't able to read it, but I could send it to somebody who did read it, and we were able to make the decision about what to do. And so I think that just goes to show that it is super important to advocate for yourself, but also use the tools around you, whether it is this book or Rat Guide or information from other vets, to be able to provide your vet with the information so that they can provide the best care possible. Now, I will put a little disclaimer here at the end of this video. By no means am I saying that vets who are not rat savvy are bad vets. Absolutely not. All I'm saying is they're just not rat experts, and that is fine, that is cool, and I'm not expecting every single vet to be rat experts, but I am expecting them to be honest about their capabilities and what they know, and in my experience, most of the time they are, sometimes they're not, and you sometimes are going to run into those people, but most of the time, it'll be fine. I hope this video has helped you be able to provide your rats with the best vet care possible. I hope that you never get into a situation where you do need to advocate for yourself with the resources that I've given. However, if you do, they are there to help you. Please use them. Don't just rely on your own word when it comes to vets, because obviously vets are going to want to know science-backed information. So yes, if you have any other thoughts and comments about this, please do leave them in the comments down below. I'd be really interested to hear what you guys have to say about this topic. And if you want to see more of my face here on YouTube, please do subscribe. We are getting to a point that is very exciting where I am able soon, when my watch hours hit the little barrier, that I will be able to have some of those cool features on the creator scheme here on YouTube, which is very exciting. So if you do like my videos, please subscribe and please watch them all the way through. And yes, you can also find me on Instagram. I post daily on Instagram, so you can get up-to-date information and pictures and updates about all my ratties here. And yeah, thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!